Hello, good evening, and welcome to round 4 of the CV-19 Clio Cup, organised by SP Motorsport. And we are delighted to announce that this evening G&M Motors have agreed to spend absolutely no money on some really cheap plastic trophies for the top 3 in the championship, so are now our main title sponsor. I would like to welcome, for the first time, having had 3 attempts at it so far, he's not the fast one, that's David. He's not the boss, that's his dad, but he is cheap. He is available on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. It's Karl Graves of Graves Motorsport. Welcome, Karl.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for such a great welcome, and I know the rest of the family are listening in too, so it should be good. It's probably the first time I spoke to them this week.
Yeah, well, we won't mention the fact that you're disappointed. You're the disappointment of the family to them, but
Yeah.
we'll move swiftly on. So, obviously, you've been watching and participating in a lot of stuff this week. What do you think we should be looking out for?
So there's a few bits. I know last night you were unable to make the practice session, and I sort of joined in. There was some interesting racing going on last night, but the boys eventually sorted it out and stopped taking each other out on turn 1. I also noticed, I believe, that Graham has got a new sponsor for this round. It looks like he's sponsored by Monster Energy.
That's interesting.
I'm wondering if that's to do with his nickname, the Beast of Brands.
The Beast of Brands. Now, that does seem incredibly interesting to me, Karl. I have no idea whatsoever that you could be referring to. Why is he called the Beast of Brands?
Well, if I just give you a bit of an indication, I was racing with him yesterday, and he didn't actually take me out as he went to pass me on the start line. Now, that may be that I was actually in a Clio and not in a Escort Cosworth.
Oh, what is there any reference to Graham having issues with Escort Cosworths on the circuit?
Yeah, I believe 2017 he had a slight issue with a Escort Cosworth that tried to go round the outside of him, but ended up in the pit wall at 130 mile an hour.
Oh, I remember that. News. I mean, I think if I remember rightly, the driver of that particular vehicle almost died, but left hospital about half an hour later with absolutely no bruises or concussion whatsoever. So that was an interesting situation. Yeah, and that would really explain why, as we follow our championship leader, Matt Parr, we'll run through the runners and riders shortly, but Matt is obviously 3 out of 3 winning, but it would explain why he did put in a petition to the clerk of the course this evening to see whether or not he could swap his Clio for a black Escort Cosworth, because if you drive a black Escort Cosworth at Brands Hatch, you're pretty much guaranteed to win, and even if you don't win, they'll make sure you do win. So let's just run through our drivers this evening, and already the championship is shaking out very similar to this 10-minute practice session. We are on Brands Indy, the shorter of the 2 circuits. We have 10 minutes practice, 15 minutes qualifying, followed by 20 minutes race, the same format as we've enjoyed on every single time. And we have Matt Parr, our championship leader, who you see there in the white car with the green livery, with 75 points. Alex Neville in the white car with the black and yellow in second place in our championship with 40 points. We have Scott Thompson, who's currently sitting just 0.3 off of our practice best, in third position with 40 points. Ed Whitehouse, TOT, sitting up there, so as you can see, just 0.7 seconds already, just covering the top 5. Ed's in fourth place with 25. Russell Harding of Kiwi Racing, a big jump up the table into 5th place after that P2 last week at Alton Park. Sam Pearce, our series organiser in the series, there he is, he's going and visiting the scenery already, so not a great start for him. Is sitting in 6th in the championship, up 1 place on 20 points. Big Tom Starkey, the Ginger Wrecking Ball, and I believe we have more information. The gift that keeps on giving, his really acrimonious departure to the G&M Motorsport team. I think we've got a little bit more information on that, Karl, as we go through the evening. Graham Crowhurst, who is a really fantastic driver around this circuit. If he's not crashing, he's winning. He's certainly at the front. And as you say, in the Monster Energy car for this week, with a special one-off livery being the Beast of Brands, he's sitting in 8th in the championship with 17 points after that P3 last week. We have noticed that out of the 3 races so far, he didn't really get to make the grid in the first race. In the second race he crashed, and in the third race he had a crash, and there he goes wide. We're calling that the Collins test. And look, Robbie's in the gravel on the exit there. Rob the Bear, Rob Burnham is in the gravel at paddock, and he is re-familiarising himself with all of the marshals that he met in November on multiple occasions, because he does like it, hence the nickname Gravel Rabbit. Gravel Magnet even, sorry. In 9th place in the championship, Dave Howlett. 10th, Rob Lewis from Club Racing UK with 12 points. 11, Dan Underwood, Captain Underpants with 6. Johnny Tempest, after reaching the dizzy heights of the top 10 in the last round, is 12th in the championship with 6 points. Andy Birtwistle with 5. Nick McLeod, Night Sky Watcher on your screen, with 2 points. Ron Burnham in the orange and black car that you've just seen visiting the gravel with 1. And yet to open his account, but is by far having the happiest time of any of us because he lives in the sunshine, is Jason Goddard, yet to open his account, but he is on 0 points. So Karl, we've had some practices, we've had some practice races. What are we looking for, and who do you think is going to be the favourites?
Well, surprisingly, with the name of Beast of Brands, Graham's been putting in some very quick lap times. It's since he's had his new steering wheel. He was on controller before, and he's now on a wheel and seems to be doing a lot better. Or it could just be the fact that everyone is scared of him. But you know, he's got a top 3 in it there at the moment, and he's pushing it through. But Matt, as his usual self, is sitting up there with a quick time. But we did find yesterday that qualifying doesn't actually mean for a huge amount here if you've got the beast on the outside of you.
Yeah, and very much so. It looks like the cars are very loose around this circuit. We do know that they have to qualify on cold tyres, and given the fact it's a very short circuit, it does take 2 or 3 laps to get up to full pace. We're looking at Graham. He's just 0.078 off of our provisional pole position, although this doesn't actually count until the next session. Matt, who is our series leader, unexpectedly is right at the very front. He's at a 50.9, but we are expecting the lap times to come down and be around about the 50.7s. And just actually, by courier pigeon, once again, this is Wendy Jr. Our normal racing pigeon that brings our messages to us is Wendy. But unfortunately, Wendy's had a really significant accident with an engine of a 747 just outside of Luton, and so is not available to be used anymore. But the child, the second fastest racing pigeon that we can have, Wendy Jr., has brought me this bombshell again, and it is a press release from the G&M team manager Ian Gay, expressing his tremendous disappointment in the Ginger Wrecking Ball's performance in the last round. He had great expectations having left the circuit, and I think, why don't we just have a little look to see how he's getting on as he comes across the start-finish line to try a lap. The Ginger Wrecking Ball himself is very disappointed with his performance, and he's basically saying he's got to pull his finger out, otherwise he will be taking his bat and ball away, and he won't be able to use any of the facilities, and he will have to go back to Green Star Racing. I'm not sure he'll get a particularly welcome response there. And also, Wendy Jr. has given me a second piece of paper at this rate, and it's actually from Tom's dad. And well, I don't know if I should really say this, but I think I'm probably going to have to. And his dad's saying he hasn't been this disappointed in his son since he came out the womb and he noticed the colour of his hair. I won't say anything other than that. We'll just leave that there. But we are expecting him to be better. He is a controversial and hard racer in real life, and we're expecting this. So let's just have a run through our riders. So Matt parked it up in the garage as per normal. He likes to slip off for a little martini, shaken not stirred, after he's put in his fastest time, just to see what everyone else is doing. Graham is in P2 as he comes across the line now for a second lap. Another lap, just to see how he's getting on as we follow him around on board. Graham is a proven champion of BMW Car Club Racing in the M2 category, in his M3. He knows his circuit very well, had a great race at the end of last year with the Super Cup against Colin Tester in the M3. Unfortunately came second to Colin there, but Colin is a seasoned racer, a veteran of sorts, and does have a fantastic record around this circuit, living just up the road. And he's up on two wheels and he's pushing hard. And oh my God, is the words that's come out of the cockpit there. And that's when we just realised that adrenaline is brown. Someone else we're expecting this evening to do quite well is pro here, Scott Thompson of the Pro-Am Racing team. Scott is had some great battles with Alex Neville, and they are third and fourth at the moment, separated by literally 0.1 of a second, give or take. Can't get a little bit loose there on the way into on the way through the last right-hander, and he's pulling into the pits. Alex Neville in P4, so let's ride on board with him temporarily and just see how he gets on. No. So we actually didn't manage to get that lap in. We have seen out the initial 10 minutes of the practice session as we enter into qualifying very shortly. So just a few things to remind people about. There are some settings that are forced that everyone needs to observe. So you only get a cockpit view. You can't do anything other than look through the window. It is a manual transmission, although most cars are on flappy paddle gearbox, which is similar to the Clio itself. You can either go for a loose or stable setup. Track limits and penalties do apply, as our championship leader comes out the pits, not wasting any time whatsoever, hopefully going to bang in a fast time. The spotter is on, and there is proximity alerts. There's also a new feature for this race, which is the Grand Crowhurst alert, which does let you know that if you're coming out of clearways right at the end of the lap, and he's off on his first corner through paddock. The cold tyres have caught him out. He's on cold tyres, and that's going to slow him down. But everyone else is following around the pits. It's probably broadly similar, probably 2 or 3 laps to get some heat into those rears, and it is a very slippery situation without that. So as we follow now with Scott of the Pro-Am Racing team. Scott races a 182 Clio, a really nice piece of kit in the MSV Track Day Championship and Track Day Trophy. Has had some great battles just up in front of him. Kiwi Russ in the white car with the Martini style livery. Scott had some great battles with Alex Neville, who is the Mini Am champion from a couple of years ago. And I believe that Karl, you're actually going to be running Alex Neville this season in the Mini Championship.
Yes, we are. We're hopefully when we can get back out running again, we'll be running Alex in a refreshed Mini after he had his slight incident at Donington last year and needed it to be reshelled.
That's interesting actually, because a couple of years ago he obviously won the AM Championship and then went up into the Pro Series. Last year wasn't necessarily his best year, so I guess my question to you is, what are you going to do? Have you got to kind of make arrangements to go back down to the Supatune barn to meet Colin Tester and say, excuse me Colin, would you mind unlocking his talent, because since he left the Supatune fold, there's an accident there between 3 or 4 drivers, which is a bit of a shame. Would you have? Sorry, I'll come back to that. Do you have to go to Colin Tester down at his barn and say to him, will Supatune sell you Alex's talent back?
Well, I don't know. I've just seen Alex driving there. I don't think anyone has got any hope with helping him out. He seems to
he's driving that similar to
at the moment,
isn't he? Yeah, he is driving that very similar to the Mini. I believe he's had some issues at this track before in that Mini, but hopefully this evening he sorts it out. I believe he's also switched to a wheel.
Well, he had until he broke the wheel midweek, so he's now back on controller again. He's a bit disappointed, but he was a bit heavy-footed, I believe, and broke both pedals.
Okay, as we come round the last right-hander, we'll run through our top drivers in a moment and just have a little look through the field. So Matt Parr, our championship leader, 3 wins out of 3. He's got to go past Rob the Bear here. This will be interesting to see. Last of the late breakers, he's up the inside through Druids, the hairpin at the top, as we come down the hill now and into Graham Hill Bend. We have an interesting story about Damon Hill at Graham Hill Bend, which we won't repeat. And the Grays Motorsport boys are privileged to have all that. As he comes across the start-finish line to see if he could beat his 50.8. No, we've got 11 minutes remaining. Alex Neville has crept up into P2. In fact, it's Kiwi Russ who's crept up into P2, and he's going into paddock, the fast right-hander. Lots of elevation change there, the back end getting very loose. Is he going to be able to deal with the back markers? Nicely out of the way. They've turned in on him, and has that ruined his lap? Possibly so.
So Paul, just reporting, there's a lot of discontent on the car radios about tyres being off and not being able to manage them. And it seems looking at the cars going off, they're out there on ice.
Yeah, well, it would be. I mean, we had this issue. A couple of drivers randomly got cold tyres at the autumn round, and it seems like a couple of other people have randomly got it this time. Kiwi Russ here of Kiwi Racing, who had a great second position in the last round, very consistent, took advantage of that issue between the front runners. Dave of the Northern Monkies race team, also up there in fourth at the moment, second off of the provisional pole time with a 52.094. Scott is in fifth place with a 52.25, and he's also got some fresh air in front of him as he moves up into P4 with a improvement in his lap time of 51.9. We do know that a lot of people are in the high 50s, so maybe a second quicker than that would be that pole time. And also in the race, people will be able to slipstream the other cars and keep up with the people in front of the lap pace in the race. I'm envisaging will actually be faster in the race because of the drafting. As we go on board now with Nick McLeod, very gently moving around the hairpin, currently sitting in 6th. NIG, Night Sky Watcher, in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Nice and tidy from Nick, going wide. We do know that track penalties are on, so in the bottom right-hand corner you will see whether or not track limits have been exceeded. And in the race, if you continue to do that, you will have to give back places if you make it up, or actually end up with a drive-through penalty.
So there's
Tom Starkey is in 7th place, the ginger wrecking ball himself. Johnny T, currently in 8th position, keeping it nice and tidy there. He's a seasoned veteran, is Johnny T. He was asked earlier in the week whether or not he was on Instagram. His response was, why should I be? And the answer is we can't really afford to take Johnny onto Instagram because both of his followers would break the internet. So the bear, as he's coming down there past Mr. G on the left. He is, Rob Lewis and he's gone wide and he's crashed on the exit to paddock. So we'll pick up someone else. Rob the Bear down in P11 with a 53.4. We know that he's got better pace than this in him. He does seem to have a very loose car. Graham is parking it up on the straight. Well, it is some interesting racing, I think, in store for us here, Karl. There's a lot of action going on. Some people having some issues with the controllability of the car. The beast of Brands is certainly not having it when he's gone wide again there, and he's lost the back end again, and he's all over. Yeah. So we are having the drivers feed back to us that they're having a bit of an issue with tyres and cold tyres and not managing to get any heat in them, and sometimes the computer system does throw up some tricky
I've got a feeling, Paul,
and,
looking at the options, it's probably, and the times that they're posted in, there's probably 8 or 9 that are suffering with cold rear tyres. Especially the two at the bottom. Yesterday they were very quick, and they seem to be having major issues at the moment, getting even into under 1 minute's lap times.
Yeah, well, we were expecting these guys to be in the 50s, Karl, weren't we? And
yeah.
It doesn't seem to be the case. Although we do know that Mr. G here, Jason Goddard, representing Dubai Drives, 3 hours ahead from us. He's finished his Zoom quiz, and he's just saying he's having perfect tyres. He's just the lack of talent that's leaving him down there in 15th position. Although he is banging in some 54s. Our championship leader and provisional pole position man doesn't seem to be having any issues as we enter the last 6 minutes 20 seconds of this competition, qualifying period. Alex Neville in P2, who is an ARDS instructor and champion in the mini-AMs, as we mentioned earlier, so he does know his way around this circuit. Also pleased to announce that Ed and Graham and Jason Goddard have got new sponsors. They've been sponsored by British Airways, and they managed to accumulate many air miles in the last round at Alton Park, enough to take them on a holiday for 2. Unfortunately, they won't be able to use any of those points in the coming months due to the lockdown. Alex just 0.008 off of our pole man, so it is showing that the pace is broadly similar at the front. And Kiwi Russ here, as he goes wide, I'm pretty sure that will be discounted that lap time, but he is just 0.1. TOT Ed Whitehouse in the white and purple car was our pole position man in the previous round at Alton Park. Is normally a front runner, unfortunately managed to go wide in turn 2 in the previous race, and then got notched into orbit by Johnny T, and that pretty much put him down the back of the grid. Rob Lewis, Club Racing UK, is just half a second off the pace, and in midweek practices he has been generally on the pace and running at the front. Dave of the Northern Monkies team there in P6, and Scott's going around the outside. He's visited the medical centre. Just to let you know, Scott, we're on the Indy circuit, not the GP, so if you'd like to come back over to the right, that'd be much appreciated. Big Tom Starkey, 51.5. Now, he has invested significantly in some Fanatec racing gear, some pedals and a wheel. Maybe we should change his name to All the Gear No Idea Racing, but hopefully he's going to dial in his settings and see how it goes. Rob the Bear has crept into the top 10, either just 1.3 seconds off of our pole man with a 51.9, and he's had some issues there, so there's not really getting some clear laps in. Ron, Night Sky Watcher Nick McLeod there is in our top 10 position, and Johnny T's tracking him down, so Johnny T is going to go up the inside of him through the last right hander as they come onto the start-finish straight. Dan's always worth a watch because he doesn't spend a lot of time on the black stuff, he does spend a lot of time in the scenery, so let's just follow him for a temporary period. And yep, he didn't disappoint us, he did not disappoint us, and he's taken out Mr. G and used him as a battering ram to get back on. And I think that's slightly unfair. Mr. G won't be happy with that. He'll have to put down his cigar and maybe take this a bit more seriously. Dirty Bertie. Now, it is great to see that for the 4th consecutive Saturday night, Andy is allowed in-out. Yes, he's still not allowed out-out. Natalia is not allowing him out-out yet, but he is in-out. And he is available for 4th round. In fact, my 5-year-old son Charlie did say he can't wait to race Andy because Andy's not very good and he will be able to beat him. And to be fair, my son is able to end up on his roof in a Clio on a Daytona 500 loop. Our series organiser, Sam Pearce, is down in 15th. Now this is unexpected, and Karl, I'm probably thinking this is the same tyre issue that he's having as everyone else.
Yeah, it seems that the main Sam and Graham are having, the Beast are having the same issues. The Beast has just actually put in a quicker lap time, but yeah, it seems that the problem they're having generally in these cars, Surtees is flat out in 4th, slightly wider the apex and you can go through. But at the moment, they're all having to lift going through there. Apart from what it seems, the top 4 or 5 cars aren't having to worry about that so much.
I mean, we are getting some messages here from Reggie on the live stream feed saying this is hilarious. Have they put Jason's T1Rs off of his Mini on the back of these Clios? As we head to the front of the field, just to check out who's going on. So our top man, our series leader, is not necessarily going to get a run away with it here, but he is provisional pole position man as we enter the last couple of minutes. I mean, good thing about this circuit being much shorter than Alton is that you can get round to put another lap in before you get to the end of it, and maybe get some more lap times. So. And I am having it, Karl, I am having it fed back to me that Dan, R32, in P13 at the moment, is currently driving round the circuit listening to the village people and the weather girls. I'm not sure what that's saying about him, but
that
may
is
be why he's getting
interesting.
distracted.
We've just had Graham go off at Druids.
Well, let's find out where he is.
Back.
So he's still struggling with grip there. Maybe it's a new livery that seems to have done it to him.
It could be, or he just wants to keep his low-scoring sessions going. Where Matt wants to keep on winning, Graham just wants to, not show.
Yep. Sam Pearce is having similar issues down in 15th place. He was great expectations as Russ blast past him there, and everyone's going around the outside of him. He's probably going to get a bit loose there. A little bit of contact in qualifying. Yeah, there's not having any of it. He's not having any of it. It's going to take him out. He's going to take him out.
Bit of a naughty move there.
Oh.
You might find a clerk of the course being called up later.
Certainly could do. I mean, you don't want to visit Barry because, as we know, if you don't get to see Barry again, you're having a good weekend.
We do.
Sam's having real issues there, so we'll leave him. He's gone back into the pit. Alex Neville, our P2 man at the moment. And qualifying is complete. And our series leader, 3 out of 3, is provisional, a full pole now for the race. We do know that he is quick at places other than Castle Combe, which we weren't sure about at the start of this series. The Grant Motorsport team absolutely adamant that he is fast around this circuit, but is pole position the place that you want to be. Kiwi Russ brings out the second position, so he finished second in the previous race and is in the front row for this race. Rob Lewis of Club Racing UK is in third, as we wait very briefly as we reload and get ready. So Matt OTK in P1, Alex Neville P2, Russell Harding, Kiwi Russ P3, Rob Lewis P4, to the Bratmobile, which is Ed in 5th. Rob the Bear with a great performance in the top 6 there, having moaned all week about his lack of pace. He seems to have pulled something out of the bag and put it in 6th place, although he did visit the gravel, which was fully expected, and he is just one position and literally 0.027 seconds behind him on lap speed is Big Tom Starkey, the Ginger Wrecking Ball. Is he going to take out Rob the Bear going into T1? This could be very interesting. Dave put in another solid performance in 8th, Dave 20T. And Pro-Am Racing down in 9th place, that's Scott Harper-Thompson of the Pro-Am Racing team. He was expected to be a little bit higher up, but hopefully he'll get to grips with it and race hard. And rounding out our top 10 is Night Sky Watcher Nick McLeod. So just a little bit of information, Karl. I don't know if you're aware, but these are a lot of semi-pro and amateur racers. So Matt is a Castle Combe Saloon champion, so it's no surprise to see him at the front. Alex is being run by your guys. He's Mini-Am champion. Scott Thompson races in Track Day Trophy, Track Day Championship. Robert Lewis is a BARC Focus driver and hopefully was getting back on track this year, but also one of the founders along with Nick and Stefan of Club Racing UK, which has gone great. And if you haven't seen it, I would check out their podcast from earlier in the week, which is available to all. Sam Pearce of SP Motorsport, he does prep for the G&M Motorsport team and has seen them through to P3 and P2 in the Track Day Champion the last couple of years, and this year was due to race himself. Russ Harding is a Track Day Trophy racer. Graham Crowhurst, the champion himself, the beast of Brands, is a BMW CCR champion in M3. Johnny Tempest is a classic touring car race club in the 850 Volvo, which is a 850 Volvo touring car replica, which if anyone gets to see it is a magnificent piece of kit. Rob Burnham and Tom Starkey are second place championship in the Track Day Championship and also multiple race winners. Jason Goddard is one of the main guys down there in Dubai, in the Dubai drives, and Andy and Dave are regular Track Day racers. So there is an eclectic mix, but in general the racing's been pretty good so far this season, Karl.
Yeah, the racing has been brilliant, and I think we're just waiting for the grid to come in. if you look at the top 5 there, they've all done a fair bit of racing apart from Russ, who's track day. One thing we have noticed though, Paul, on the starts is there's always been a jump start in the test racing that we've been doing, partly down to it being downhill and people not having their foot on the brake. So it is worth watching out for that, because it holds a 20-second penalty.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to be getting off to a flyer, but incurring that 20-second penalty. So definitely be one to watch out for as the grid's forming up, and we hear the buzzers, and hopefully the lights will go out, and we will follow our pole position man. Oh,
Alex seems to be
jumping
around,
and they're off for round 4 of the CV-19 Sam Pearce Motorsport Clio Cup E-Race Challenge, and it's Alex Neville who gets a great start. He's up on the inside and has taken the, but he's gone wide, and he's taken out our series leader and put him into the wall. That is a massive accident. There are all sorts of things going on, which means that Alex and the G&M Motorsport car is having some issues, and Kiwi Russ is gone into P2, he's maintained that P2, and Rob Lewis of Club Racing UK is grid into P3.
So
Northern Dave is currently in P4 as we follow Russ as he locks up a rear wheel, and certainly it's an interesting start already, Karl.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a lot going on there. We've got drivers complaining of cold tyres already. In the races on these, they actually go to the grid with hot tyres so that they shouldn't have that issue. But it seems like there are a few out there. But I think this is going to have a lot of racing coming through. And Sam Pearce has already made up a few places already and is up to 10th.
Well, we knew he had a great start in the previous race at Alton with that flying start off the grid. He's taken it very carefully through there. I don't know whether or not... and he does seem to still have some of those tyre issues unless there's a genuine driver mistake. But he collects it up and then doesn't quite hang on to it as the field bears down. And he's gone airborne. He's gone airborne. And that is Rob the Bear, and there's carnage in the background. Mr. G once again visiting the gravel.
We knew this race was always going to be clean or an absolute disaster. But Alex has now got quite a large lead out there.
As Dave does a full send. He's licked the stamp there, and in the background Harvey Thompson goes wide as well. This is a great for position P2 as Rob Lewis just edges ahead, but he is on the outside, but he will have the better line and the better drive as he comes down the hill now. He has moved in front of Dave, and Ed Whitehouse, TOT, in 4th position there, trying to track the pair of them down, and Dave's unfortunately conceded that place, but Rob is very fast around this circuit, and it has been a fantastic start. With lost it, and he's gone wide. He's lost it on the way there. That is a very tricky corner in this, and Dave's moved up into 2nd place. What's going on, Karl?
It seems to be the tyres, but they're also, we've got a lot of time penalties coming into this already. We can't actually see the time penalties ourselves, but you can see that to the right hand side of the driver's name there is a little exclamation mark. That means they will have a time penalty for either track limits, dangerous driving, or jumping start. And at the time I didn't see any off the start, so it would be, looks like it's going to be track limits.
Oh, and there's a nice move there by Big Tom Starkey as he enters into the podium position of 3rd place. Dave taking a lot of curb on the inside there. So Ed has moved up magnificently into 2nd place, so that's a fantastic start. But it does look like Alex Neville has got a little bit of fresh air in front and behind him. He is 4 seconds ahead of our P2 man, but we do know that he is particularly brisk around this circuit and genuinely very consistent. So hopefully Ed will be able to track him down. But there is a bit more between P3 and P4. Big Tom Starkey, BIG, the Ginger Wrecking Ball.
So we've
if
got
he can hold it together. It's a long way to go. Still 16 minutes in this.
Mid-pack pool between Matt and Scott, by the looks of it, from their race that they had at Silverstone. It looks like they're redoing that now.
Matt's gone up the inside there, and Kiwi Russ has taken that place back. A classic. And Big John Ginger Starkey has gone. And oh no, Mr. G has had some incidents again, and it's put him right down the back, along with Scott from Pro-Am. So We just missed that, but I just think we caught the back end of it, Karl. There does seem to be incidents throughout the whole of the pack, and that has pushed everyone into a very different order, down to 7th place now, as he's trying to gain that position back from Night Sky Watcher. Nick McLeod, as he goes around the outside with some good pace. He is a experienced racer around the circuit, has won on the GP circuit, Big Tom Starkey.
Yeah, and it's all in Matt's favour at the moment. So Matt, who was obviously taken out early on in the first start of the race, is now got himself up to 5th, and he's putting the pressure on.
He is, and he's back up to P5 already. In fact, P4 with this move, if he can manage to make it stick. I'm not sure if Dave's going to let him through, is he? Yes, he is. That's a great move around the outside, down into Graham Hill Pend as they come along the Cooper Straight and into the first part of the left-hander, which is Surtees, and then as it turns right, it's McLaren, which a lot of people just call this clearaways, but it's actually the first part is McLaren. And there's contact there with our championship leader. He's managed to style it out very well, putting pressure on Kiwi Russ there, who is in P3, so he is looking potentially at a podium, remarkably, after just 7 laps, having been put in the wall unceremoniously on the first lap. Yes, as I was saying, McLaren is the first part into clearways, and then Clark Curve is the outside of that final right-hander, but most people do refer to it as clearways. And then along the Bradburn Straight, up the hill into Paddock Hill Bend, down into Druids, which we are following our P2, P3 and P4 position. This is very close, Karl. What's your thinking?
It is exceptionally close. I think we've got Matt here that clearly has got the experience of running at the front, but Kiwi Russell is doing exceptionally well, and I know he's got his fans from New Zealand tuning in tonight as well, or should I say in the morning for their time. So he's putting on a show.
They don't often get to see him race. When he does race, he has a tendency to lunch gearboxes and break race cars, but these seem to be pretty indestructible, even though Renaults don't necessarily have the most reliability record on the Clio front. But these Gen 4 Clio Cup cars are certainly very impressive, both in virtual and real life. But do you think Matt's going to be looking to protect his championship position from here, or do you think he's going to be aggressive and go for it, given the fact that he does have to chase down Alex Neville, who is in P2 in the championship and currently 10 seconds ahead?
He is, but he's got, after Alex's poor performance last week, he's actually got himself quite a nice cushion on points, so he could actually push the fact and try and get through. He's not got too much to lose from that point of view. He's got a good few seconds on the people behind him.
Oh, he's put a move on him. He's put a move on him as we speak. Sorry to interrupt you there, Karl. He has put a move on him up the inside of Clearways. We're interested to see whether or not he managed to make that stick. And he has.
Yes, there was just a bit of information there. I believe that Russell was actually slowing down and had to let him pass to avoid a penalty. So he's going to be back on it and pushing to get back that 3rd position.
So this is a pretty impressive performance from our series leader here, Matt. He is a champion. I mean, he is used to winning and running at the front, but to come from pretty much stone dead last at the end of lap 1 and within 9 laps to be in P3 and right in the mix is pretty impressive, to be fair.
Yeah, and we've had our first retirement. I've noticed that Graham has dropped out. I think he was obviously suffering too much, and the beast of Brands has been slayed, unfortunately.
I mean, that is incredibly disappointing, although I am getting feedback from the rest of the drivers that they are more comfortable certainly coming out of the Clark Curve and onto the start-finish straight, because there is less chance of them actually being taken out.
Yeah, and I believe Alex now is not going to be so worried about getting up to the back markers just in case.
And it looks like he's going to try and put a move up the inside, and he has put a move up the inside there into Druids, which is now into P2. And there is an incident there between our P3 and P4. That was very harsh, Karl. I don't know what your view of that was, but certainly not very sporting. And I think that's going to fire up Kiwi Russ, because he has got his family watching in New Zealand.
He has.
And it probably isn't going to go down well with him.
No, he hasn't. I think Ed may be having to use those air miles that he got from BA to go and apologise. But it seems that Russ will be coming back. I've just heard one of the drivers has got a drive-through, but I didn't actually see which one it was when it come up.
Yeah, I mean, I am getting feedback from the guy that just made that move that he didn't see him, but I'm not sure. I do think that sounds like a racing drive excuse.
Yeah,
let's see what happens. He's going to put a move on him up the inside, is he, Russ?
He is indeed. And it looks like he's made it stick.
and he's made it stick. That is a good piece of driving by Russell there. So he's back into the podium positions, and this looks like it could go on for a little bit of time. But in fairness to the rest of the field, let's just find out what's going on. So down at the back there on a nice little Saturday night drive out, Dubai drives Jason Goddard. Dan in the R32 Captain Underpants Racing has probably visited the scenery on many occasions. We only need to watch him for a matter of time. And Andy Birtwistle, well, based on the fact that he's down there in P12 and off the circuit as we speak, maybe Charlie was right. Maybe he is the man that he could be going after. But what is a big surprise here, Karl, is that our series organiser Sam Pearce is down in P11.
Yes, he struggled from the start. He made a promising start, I think, with all the people, drivers around him having issues off the start and getting a blistering start, and then he's just not been able to get to grips with a car that's not handling very well.
And Scott Harper-Thompson, who had a very close battle with Alex in the 2 previous races at Silverstone and last week at Alton, is down in P9. So it looks like, and he's going wide again there and allowing the man behind him. So Nick's come up the inside and has managed to make that move stick. So he's taken that that position away. Rob the Bear in P8. So he fluctuated. He was at 6 on the grid. Looked like he was running well, got taken out and had a few issues, and he's back up to P8 as well. So I am expecting some fairly significant changes to the championship standings this evening, and maybe bringing everyone back a little bit back together.
Yeah, and I think Matt's made the most of people around him and driving quickly and keeping his head together to get back up in second, albeit not able to challenge for the race win with only a few more minutes to go of the race. But he's going to struggle to make up 11 seconds on Alex, I believe.
Very much so. And Dave of the Northern Monkies team is running around in P6. He was fairly consistent. He seems to be a good top 5, top 6 runner, as Rob the Bear tries to come up the inside of the back marker there. Big Tom Starkey. And there's an issue there, and he's navigated that pretty well, to be fair, as the car in front goes off, and Sam Pearce continues to have some challenges with those car tyres. He's flashing his lights, saying, please get out of my way, because I'm the Ginger Wrecking Ball and I'm coming through whether you want me to or not. And this now is 4 position. Oh, and there's contact again. He's been punted off as he held it all together as it goes around the outside. Great piece of recovery driving there, Karl.
Yes, he managed to keep that on and not take it back into the barriers. But it seems that as we're getting on, the drivers that had the cold tyres are now starting to get them to start working, and the ones that will there's a massive
and there's someone gone off there, massive off there as they come out of McLaren. I'm probably thinking that's Andy or someone. Sam has actually managed to get some distance along that start-finish straight in just a little time. So I'm assuming the car's coming back to him a little bit, but he's a minute off of our leading man. So I'm not really expecting him to make great inroads into the trophy. So we join the lead man now, Alex Neville, who's had a pretty consistent and clear race at the front. He stayed out of trouble. The car has kept itself together.
So we can clearly see that the some of the drivers towards the back that we'd expect to be right at the front are starting to get their lap times down. Sam has just put in a 52.9, which is his fastest lap so far. So he's definitely getting a little bit quicker.
And Scott in P10. Coming along the back there, there is probably only real battle on track now is our 3rd and 4th place man. So he has tracked him down. Ed has tracked down our championship leader, and 2nd, 3rd and 4th is pretty close, and it may just be a matter of who makes a mistake and whether or not someone is able to bear with the pressure. We know that Russ had a pretty clear race in P2 and held that on very well. We know that Matt is not holding back, but we also know that Ed's pretty quick as well, so it's probably worth following this for a little bit longer.
I've got a feeling Russ had got a slow exit out of there, onto the main straight, and is now going to be put under pressure going into paddock.
Oh, he is, and there seems to be contact there, and our championship leader has gone for the move, made some contact, and has actually gone back through the field, so he's lost some time.
Yeah, Russ definitely took one up the derriere there.
Not for the first time, I understand.
No, it's Alex Norley, one up there, but it definitely was Russ in this case.
And Kiwi Russ still sitting there in P2. Wreck-It Russ is hanging on.
His word that he'd be fighting back, Paul Waller, for his New Zealand P. He's gone wide. Completely mucked that corner up.
And as Ed moves into P2 now, and got a little bit of distance behind.
Ed in P2 with a 52 seconds. So Alex is still pulling away, even though that these guys are fighting with them. And while they're fighting, Alex is just going further and further ahead.
And he's managed to get through that back period there, yeah.
Yeah, taken out. I wonder see if he actually gets a penalty for that. But we will see.
Very aggressive driving. I mean, we know these mini drivers are normally pretty close, but particularly aggressive driving there, and not necessarily favourable. Russ has got a penalty of some description, but he is still chasing down our championship lead, and he's got nothing to lose because Matt is so far ahead in the championship. It would be interesting to see whether or not, with just 4 minutes remaining, that he's going to try and lick that stamp and send it as best as he possibly can as he drifts the rear end, losing a little bit of time. Matt much smoother through there as they come up to Druidge, Karl.
Yeah, and he's got Kiwi Russ right there. We'll see whether Russ can actually put a move on him into paddock like Ed did before. But Matt did before, and it seems that Matt's under a bit of pressure now.
He is, but as Russ runs wide there,
mistakes.
As Russ runs wide there, I don't know whether he's going to get a time penalty for that for track limits. But they are just spreading out a tiny bit, although they're locking up the rears and a little bit tidier there from Russ on the way in. Down in P5, Dave's in plenty of fresh air. Tom Starkey there, Big Tom Starkey is in 6th, but we are seeing Sam Pearce putting some impressive times and working his way back up through the field, letting Rob Lewis up the inside there. As we come back to our race there, Karl, and there was a lot of people struggling. It's not the race that we expected, but it's certainly been very interesting.
Yeah, and it sounds over the radio that a few of them are actually having fitness issues in the cars. So they seem to be struggling, and I can't actually refer to what some of the drivers are saying that they're sweating off, but it's more than you'd want to be sweating off sitting on your sofa.
And it's quite interesting because having given it the big one earlier, saying, "Oh, I will quite happily drive on cold tyres and just send it," Sam Pearce doesn't seem to have actually managed to bring that to fruition when he accidentally got it through some sort of tyre glitch.
And no, he seems to be having problems and going. He's definitely suffering from the commentator's curse, Paul.
He is. He's up on two wheels. He does not like the pressure of the on-board, certainly. So let's take him on board and see whether or not he can actually get a clear lap.
So we're on board with Sam now coming into paddock, and it's quite interesting. It's just a dab of the brakes and before turning in, and he's a little bit wide, but you know, with the tyres as he's been describing, it's not surprising.
No, and he's not really letting Rob Lewis get away, although he did move out of the way short period of time ago, given the fact that they're running very different races, with Rob up in P7 and Sam down in P11 and having laps. But he is trying to keep it neat and tidy. I don't know if he's still suffering from these tyre issues or not.
We said they were getting a bit better, but we can see that through there...
He's gone. He has gone. The commentator's curse has struck again, and he's on his roof on the outside, and he's rolled over onto his wheels. Oh, and he's taken out our leader there.
Being collected very truly there. So it seems that he did take out Alex, and Alex is losing time quite heavily there.
Yeah, and he is,
So,
and it's actually down to Ed now, unfortunately, as we come into probably what is our last lap. But this is for P2 in the race as we cross the line, probably for the very last time. Yes, probably 48, 47 seconds. So this will be the last lap, and it's going to be interesting, Karl, to see whether or not Ed can hang on to this position as he loses the back end a little bit there, goes wide, much tidier, gains a few car lengths as he comes up the hill into Druids.
Yeah, and we've got
there's a back marker
in place as well.
Back marker, yeah, and Matt taking even more time out of him once again, flashing his lights, trying to put him off as Ed holds on to that P2 position.
We've also got to take into account any time penalties that drivers are going to get through this as well.
This is true, as we follow across the line with our race winner from round 4, Alex Neville. A fantastic race, controlled the pace, but Matt is trying to send it up the inside in the last corner. This is going to be really interesting.
This could be a beast of Brands moment right there.
Oh, and he had the opportunity, didn't he? But he didn't quite manage to get it across the line. It looked like he was going to, but it did look like from a distance that he was going to do it. Oh, there's one lap left.
It looked like Alex got round just with a second or so to go, Paul, by looks of it.
Oh, fantastic news. So we are going to see this battle reach its fruition. So having taken the lead in the last corner onto this lap, our series champion in P2 at the moment, and he's got absolutely nothing to lose whatsoever here, Ed. So is he going to stick it out the inside? Oh, he's bottled it a bit there. He's going to be interested. Is he going to get the drag out? Is he going to do it? And yes, he is going to hold that second position as Ed Whitehouse, TOT, to the Bratmobile, comes across the line in P3. Kiwi Russ in P4. Dave now coming into the last corner, potentially to have P5, although he does have Rob behind him. I don't think he's got enough time. So, consistent as ever, Dave has done a great performance yet again in that top 5 position. As he comes across the line in P5, Rob Lewis in P6. Big Tom Starkey having a few issues in the last corner. He's taken him out. Is this going to ruin his race? I'm sure that G&M are going to have something to say with this on the last lap, the very last corner. Does that mean that there is a problem? And Rob the Bear has snuck up the inside of him and he's beaten him. Oh, I'm sure there's going to be words said during the week. A few WhatsApp messages will be exchanged as we reach the end of a highly eventful but highly unexpected race. I really don't know what to make of that, Karl.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot going on there, and you can see the time penalties have made a difference. I'm surprised that there was only a couple of 2-second time penalties. To be fair, expected that to be a lot more, and I think Kiwi Russ is going to be exceptionally happy where he finished 4th for all his fans tuning in from New Zealand. But I think a podium would have been what he was hoping for. I think, Paul, there's going to be a lot of requirement for fitness coaching to go on with this lot because they're all complaining about how tired they are at the moment.
Well, it's not a surprise, is it? I mean, to be fair, most of them have been sat up indoors for quite some time now, but it has impacted on the standings there. As we see, our championship leader retains his lead but loses his 100% record with a great move on the penultimate lap, with Matt on 93 points and moving clear in second place, away from that joint second place clear, is Alex Neville with 65 in second. Scott Thompson hangs on to his P3 with 42 points, but Ed has come up quite significantly there, back into contention for the minor places to finish in 4th place with 40 points. Kiwi Russ is clawing his way back up the table, 36 points in 5th. Big Tom Starkey, interestingly, was on for a good finish, and yet again the Ginger Wrecking Ball has managed to have a massive accident at Brands. And I can hear Rob Burnham in the background laughing his man boobs off, because there are some big bragging rights. The man that left, the star left, Green Star Racing has actually finished behind him. Big Tom Starkey in 6th place with 22 points. Now level in points with consistent Dave in P7 with 22 points. Sam Pearce, after a shocking performance due to tyre issues in this race, not improving on his total with 20. Rob Lewis in 20 points, and rounding out our top 10, Graham, who we had great expectations for in this round, unfortunately got hit by that cold tyre glitch in 10th in the championship on 17 points. And please feel free to join in and follow us at 8 p.m. next week as we go continental. We are visiting the delightful and exotic Spa circuit. I don't know how many laps we're going to get in these Clios in that amount of time, but we all get the opportunity to sample Eau Rouge and all of the delights that fantastic track has. Just leave the last word with Karl. Thanks for joining me, Karl, and over to you just to sign off and just give us your view of what's happened tonight.
You're welcome, Paul, and thank you for hosting us. I think it's been a great night. It's not necessarily broken up the championship and brought it open because Matt coming back up there in a second, but it promised that it could have done. I do have a bit of information that I believe Graham has got himself a new jacuzzi and has been in it most of the day, ready for Spa next weekend. I think he might have got it slightly muddled up, but you know, fair play. He's had a go ready for Spa, so I think he's definitely looking forward to it.
Well, there is a real possibility that he spent too long in that Spa today, and his hands got all wrinkly, his fingers got a bit soft, and he lost his touch on that new wheel that he's got. But we do know he's a champion, because if we don't know it, he always reminds us. We probably will at some point edit in some of the footage from Graham and his previous issues over the start-finish line. I mean, it would be incredibly unfair to do so, but that's what we like. That's exactly what we're going to do. Anyone else, check out YouTube for Graham, Crowhurst and Burley and the M3 and the black Escort Cozzy. And welcome to Spa next week. We thank you once again for joining us, and we wish you the very best. Stay safe, and thanks again to Sam for organising the event, and to G&M Motorsport for now sponsoring the series. No expense spent on the trophies, and we look forward to what we've got in store next week, 8 p.m. See you again. Thanks very much.